Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's November 7th, 2023. I'm down along part of our property line. Our neighbor's property is right over here. I'm on top of an old stone wall. A couple years ago I built this roadway going between the trees here on a stone wall. And so part of the stone wall is really just under there. And that's a spot where I'm going to transplant one of the honey locust trees. What I'm doing now, I'm in the process of relocating some of the trees that I planted too close together in the various food forest areas and all. When I planted the thornless honey locust trees, they were purported to be nitrogen fixing trees, having a symbiotic relationship with a rhizobia, a nitrogen fixing bacteria, and there's controversy whether that's true or not. Certainly the black locust trees, they are well-known nitrogen fixers, as well as a whole slew of other trees. But and I do think that the honey locust trees are fantastic, and I don't like coppicing and pollarding them, chopping them down too much. Once they get pretty large, and they can get quite large, and I really do like the honey locust, and they seem to be a fairly stable tree. They provide a lot of valuable food for the wildlife, beautiful flowers for the bees as well. So I'm in the process of moving a lot of those honey locust trees down here as I find spots. I'll have a lot. We are growing more thornless honey locust trees as well, which we'll be reforesting the new property in the next couple of years. But I have some that I planted several years ago that are anywhere from 12 foot to 20 feet tall. So I'm transplanting those now. So this is one of the spots. I come down with Elon, dig a small hole with the excavator. You can see this is high winds here. You'd see the limbs breaking off of many of the trees here. And when I get up to the other area, I'll show you what I mean up there. Here's one of the smaller honey locusts I transplanted yesterday down here. So you can see the soil there. Old stone pile with cement blocks there. Just bypassed the big one I see. I didn't even notice it. Here's another honey locust I transplanted yesterday. And they do take some damage, scrapes from the bucket there. You can see on the trunk of it. But I guess I'd say with acceptable damage, I'm able to get these transplanted. If they need pruning, I can prune them again in the spring to see how they do. But I want to save as many of these trees as possible. Certainly there's many benefits to the wildlife and to the ecosystem, and they are pretty fast growing trees, and they're pretty stable and pretty sturdy for the most part, as long as we don't get too sharp an angle with the branches coming off from the trunk. So we really want to have something about 45 degrees if at all possible. So I'm going to go up to the second food forest now and do some work there. I'll catch you up there in just a minute. Well, it's a few hours later after my introduction down there along the property line. I came up here and recorded what I'm going to tell you again, but I lost the recording. And then there's a section, I don't know whether it'll be before this or after this, where I have a camera mounted inside the cab, and I do a time lapse of me taking Elon down, going through the thick forested area and transplanting a couple of honey locust trees. And unfortunately, and the time lapse I think turned out okay. But so I thought what I'd do is splice in now some of the overview of what we're working on here. I'm in the second food forest area right now. So to orient you, the house is over there, and we have a sediment collecting swale down at the base on the other side of this swale that's right in front of us here. This is where the service berries are. On the other side of this swale is a mound where there's apples, cherries, there is a peach, and a bunch of berry plants as well over in there. There is a pecan, and there's maples, and I can't remember what else right now, to tell you the truth. Oh, there is a plum over there as well. Now we're in between the second swale and the third swale here, and we have two more swales up above this. And one of the things I did do when first I should say this is the topography of the property here. So in that direction up there is the northeast corner. The property slopes to the southwest. So as behind me is where our main driveway is. If we cut a swale in going towards the east, so the driveway is to the west of where we are right now behind me, and if we cut a swale in and we go eastward, even though level, we're going uphill if we walk up the hill, but a swale will look like it's digging down into the earth as we maintain a level base. And then we have a drain right up near where that maple tree is that goes under the ground down there. So when I first put in the swales, what I did do was we dug the swale itself and then mounded the soil on the downhill side, and I left it in a mound, which was a big mistake. Which made a hump where I planted a lot of the trees, and I planted them too close together, and that hump created a challenge for when we're harvesting fruit. So like with the persimmons tree that's right here, it had a big mound and then sort of a tapered valley. So setting up even the three-legged ladder to climb up in the tree and harvest fruit or nuts from, like there's a beech nut there and there's pecans there, and there's apples and pears all along in here, and cherries as well. But it gets dangerous because of trying to get up in a tree to be able to harvest the fruit and nuts. So having a gentle slope or having flat area is the safest way to set the base of a ladder if you're going to go there. The other thing that I did wrong is I planted honey locust trees, which are, in the Permaculture Society, it's often considered a nitrogen fixer. There isn't the strong evidence for them being nitrogen fixers. Are they rapid growing? Do they improve soil? Are they fantastic trees? Yes. Are they great for the bees and beneficial insects? Yes. Are they fantastic? Some people harvest the seed pods and make drinks out of them, make food out of them. And we have the thornless honey locust trees, which I love an awful lot, and that's why we're taking some care in digging these up and transporting them to other locations on the property. But since they're rapidly growing, and they're growing right next to the butternuts, the pecans, the apples, and pears and cherries and all, the branches, as they extend out laterally, are just all intertwined where there isn't enough airflow to go through them, and that's concerning as well. And it makes it more of a challenge to harvest. And if during windstorms like we're having right now, so like right over there's a big limb down. You may not be able to see it, but there's from the weeping willow there, the top of this butternut. You can see it's just one big, you may be able to see there's a couple of branches inverted upside down. The wind snapped that off. And as I've talked about before in the past, behind me to our west, there's nothing but lowland area there where the wind whips right across. So like in the Syracuse forecast today, they said 30-35 mile an hour winds. We're getting up to 50 mile an hour winds because we're at a higher elevation and there's nothing to break the wind. So we lose lots of branches, and the branches rub against each other during windstorms as well, if you have the trees planted too close together. So in summary, what I'm doing is I'm removing the mound, thinning the number of trees, transporting those trees that are, some of them are pretty large, you know, between, let's say, 12 and 20 feet tall, with Elon here, the excavator. And it's a challenge because I'm moving them into areas that are already forested, so I'm brushing the trees up against everything, and it makes it a challenge. But we're getting it done. It's just very time consuming. Then next year I'll finish this up and grade this out accordingly. So we want to be able to get a lawnmower in between everything. Now on the hillside of the slope over there, I'm not going to run a lawnmower down there, but we'll be putting an appropriate ground cover. Potentially, what I want to do is get like clover or bird's foot trefoil. We're going to be wanting to put some of our extra horseradish, some garlic, some chives. So we want root zone. We want, the herbaceous layer, the nitrogen fixers. We want to bring in plants. We're creating guilds in this area that can all do the things, bring in beneficial insects, fix nitrogen, mine minerals, and work a symbiotic relationship that mutually beneficial for the trees that are here, as well as the plants that are on the ground as well. So this is just permaculture principles and practices in the process. But because the plants are dormant now is the time to get as many trees transplanted as possible. So let me just turn this around a little bit. I'm idling Elon here. So this is a whole row of apples right here that are enough of a distance from the mound where the trees are next to the swale. So I just moved 3 trees from here, 2 honey locusts from here, only one of which will survive. I removed an apple already and put it in the 3rd food forest because I have all these other apples here. This is the persimmons here. This honey locust here, I'm going to move that one out now. I already moved out a honey locust from there, and I have a couple of small honey locusts up there that I've still got to move yet. But I think I'm going to grab this one right here, move it down and back, see if I can get that taken care of. Then I have one more honey locust up by our Russian mulberry tree up there, on the other side of the hazelnut rose and all. And I think that'll do it as far as transplanting trees this season, this fall anyways. So those are the things I wanted to talk about, was trying to remove the mounds, smooth the area out, create a nice gentle slope so that we can go ahead and harvest, because just getting up here and getting these persimmons, I'm going to have to put a ladder in here. Now I knocked a lot of the fruit off already. This was loaded with fruit. And be able to reestablish it like we want it to be. Next year I'll work on the other side of this mound, from the downhill side, the other side there, to smooth it out and all. Won't be able to get that done this year. So if this is the end of the video, what I'll say is thank you so much for watching. I just wanted to explain the reasons why I'm making some of the changes in the various food forests bit by bit. And thank goodness we've got the equipment like Elon here to move some of these trees relatively safely. I think we're going to have a pretty high success rate with them. And just want to share the reasoning and some video of it actually happening, even though it's time-lapse. Maybe I'll throw a camera on here and show what we're doing with this one here. It's kind of a rough cowboy way of transplanting trees. Well, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe, take good care of yourselves, and stay out of the high winds out there. Bye-bye now. So I'm going to have to be careful right here. I've got a couple of plants that I just went ahead and moved over here that I'll end up getting in the ground probably tomorrow. Frost-free hydrant right there. Don't want to damage that and have to repair a water line. Line up, and as you can see, I'm making quite a mess here because the soil is still so darn wet. rocks here. Not sure, hopefully the camera's showing things okay. Anymore the persimmons off the tree, then I absolutely have to move this rock to the side. See, my strap for straightening out this small apple here, this semi-dwarf apple, did not hold up so well. I'm trying to do as little damage to this persimmons as possible. I'm not sure that you can see that because my head's moving around. I can see things better than what you can see. So I already scraped a lot of the weeds and material off of here, and there are a lot of roots from the persimmons in here as well. So not only am I worried about transplanting, move it over a little bit more. Watching my thumb there so I don't do any more damage than I have to. I do mess with some of the trunks on these trees. Got a big root that I'm going to end up breaking or pulling out. I try to pull the roots out so that it pulls them away from the other trees, like that pear and this persimmons here. Try not to knock too many. Now the top of this persimmons, now can you see up there? I don't know that you can see very much right here. Is banging against the pear. So I'm going to back Elon around. Okay, so this was the easy part here. I don't know, can you see up in there? See the tops of the tree? So we'll go back down to where we are here. I'm hoping right now that I did already create a hole for this, because it's much easier than, we have a greater success rate if I pre-dig the hole that these trees are going into. And I know I have one down real deep in the forested area, but it might be a little bit too deep. Okay, now I'm knocking the top of this with the maple, so I'm going to swing this to the side. Down some. One good thing is the moisture content in the soil helps to, and having all the fine roots of the tree there together helps to lose as little bit of the soil around the roots as possible. I've got it in the travel speed, but I will abruptly slow it down, which will dislodge some soil in order to turn the vehicle, the excavator. So I now I've got another honey locust, here. This may be the daddy of this honey locust. Mommy's over there in the eastern garden plot. Try not to turn it when I've got it in a higher speed, because it really accelerates the motion out at the stick in the bucket. We've got to work on getting these figs set for winter time here, so a lot of pruning to do. I'm hoping the town brings by some leaves soon. I really hope they do. There's no guarantees. That's our insulation for the fig trees. Otherwise, they'll die back to the ground and they won't produce fruit next year. They did produce fruit this year. Not a lot, because I didn't prune them back. So I'm turning on. So here's our property line, our western property line. A big drop off. This is my living fence area here. Now we're trying to do it, so I'm wrapping the top of this tree into the... Now I'm dragging the bucket on the ground. This is where the trees that I'm going through get a bit of a beating, as well as the tree that I'm transporting. It's a real challenge here. Then we get down into the area which is much worse than this. The new road that I put in when we dug out the Pond 7. Finished doing that last year. So every tree that you see here, we planted. And I've got a prune. What we're driving through now on our right-hand side. On the left side are the curly willows next to Pond 4, and the Rose of Sharon and the grasses and all. On the right side are all of the black locust trees. And now we're heading down into the area where all the almond trees are. So this is the almond forest area here. There's pawpaws as well, and a few apples, some oaks, lots of blueberry bushes. Next year I'll be working on that. Just past one of the honey locust trees that you'll see in the time-lapse video, if I do show that. I'm going to move the boom over to the side to try and avoid swiping the trees that are right here on our right side, the lower limbs. Just a real challenge when you're transplanting a 20-foot tree, or maybe a foot or two above that, in an area that is as forested as we are right up ahead of us here. Oh no, come on. Alright, 1 second here, I gotta readjust. Slow this down some. And I'm gonna change the angle there a little bit. Started to lose this. So do I want to put it right here to our left? That's a hole I dug out to and it's a pretty deep hole. So there's a honey locust right over to our right here. We'll try to remember to look at in a few minutes. Maybe I will try and put this one right up over here. This hole that I dug is a little bit too deep. There's a bunch of young, nice looking maples around it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. Do I have another spot? So the hole that I'm going to put it in is a little bit too deep. And we don't want to bury a tree too deep. So let me see if I can manipulate this. Keep that thumb going with the bucket. Alright. Right up against those darn maples there. Now the trick is trying to, I don't know if you can see down here, since this hole is too deep, I have to fill the hole back in some. So I need to use the bucket while still holding the tree and try and refill the hole some. I'll use the other trees behind it as a support. Got it at the height that I wanted. Move this little log out of the way. I need more soil around this because this tree isn't going to last long where it is. Come on. Yeah. Some more soil here and then so you got to be real careful and just drop the soil in behind it for now so I don't knock it over. Try not to damage the roots of some of these existing trees around here. This wasn't a planned spot to put this tree. This was a hole that I dug out in the hopes of, using the soil, not in the hopes of, but using the soil to pack around the tree that's right behind us. These are sassafras trees right here, this whole bunch of cluster of trees right here. And a small blueberry bush right next to it. You feel a big jolt because I'm lifting up the equipment, trying to compact the soil. Try not to damage the maple behind there. I'm going to try and bring the tree, straighten it up some more. The winds come out of the west, as I mentioned, and of course I'm damaging some of the branches here as I'm doing this. Just want to pack this soil in so it's got a nice solid base around east side because it's going to want to, the trees are going to want to push it to the east. The wind's out of the west. Really taking my time packing this down now. There's a double maple, I don't know if you can see it, there's a double maple there that either I'll prune off. It looks pretty symmetrical to the larger section, so I may prune off the smaller section and then try and move a couple of these other maples later on. The goal today is just getting the honey locust moved from the second food forest so that I can maintain that area and at least give this honey locust a chance. Okay. Real close here, going to back up a little bit. Got a maple right up against some sassafras here on our left. Want to pack the soil in really well around these trees that I transplant. We'll be getting some rain tonight and tomorrow, or at least that's what's being called for. And these trees are dormant right now, so they have a reasonable chance of success. So you can see on the tree I've scarred it up some, but experience has taught me that these trees end up doing pretty darn well. And you'll see another honey locust on this side. Let me just put my backup camera on so I can see. I don't drive off this narrow road here. And I'll probably in the spring come down here and prune these, but this is the other honey locust, and it's about right here. It's only about a 5.5 foot drop off, but in some places it's 7 or 8 feet drop off. And can I turn this? And you can see the area over there. The property goes down. The neighbor's property goes down, and the tops of those trees, which are 45 foot tall, are about almost level with where we are at right now. Again, we're on the road that I built last year on a stone wall, and I have a spot right here that I can use. A whole bunch of sassafras right in here, lots of sassafras. We got some maples as well. This is a hugelkultur pit that I put in a year or so ago. Let's see if I dig down in here. Maybe it's 2 years ago now. You know what? I think I can put a honey locust right here. One of those smaller ones. That's plenty deep enough. So I think that'll work. Just so I want to keep going down that road much more. Down, my stick up, bucket curled. This is all stone wall on our left side here that I've been working on now for years. Building up the soil on top of the stone wall. So where we are right now, the ground level is about 4.5 foot of fill that I put in over the years. So a lot of the earth that I used to build up along the stone wall here came out of the excavation of that pond, as well as foundations and pool culture pits. The black locusts here on our left side are true nitrogen fixers. They have a symbiotic relationship with a nitrogen fixing a rhizobacter organism. Which is fantastic. Got to heel in. Just bear with me 1 second here. Just going to make a little bit of a divot here for me to heel in. Some grasses. Bushes right here. I might do it tomorrow or the next day. It's all beautiful soil we created over the years. To make it very deep, just a little bit of a trench that we can lay the plants in, cover up their root balls. It gives them a nice little bed for the winter months. One more spot, I guess, up here. Just want to make sure all the roots maintain their moisture. You want to protect them from dead air space. And this beats working with a shovel, but this soil here isn't bad at all. This is nothing like our native soil here, that rocky gravel. This is all area that we build up over time. And here you see we're about 6 feet above our neighbor's property right over here. And that's the living fence and the fig trees that we grow here. They've taken a little bit of a hit because of the frost and the snow. Western garden plot to our right side, next to the workshop here. Thornless blackberry plants are. We're getting real close to where winter's going to hit us here, and you never know when we're going to get a good snowfall. So I've got to get these things done where I'm traveling over the places that I snow blow, because I'll be snow blowing all of the driveway areas. And I'm kicking up rocks, and the mud will turn into like rocks as well. So I have to get this done and then smooth things out somewhat. Pick up any rocks. Because as I'm moving the root balls, the rocks will come right along with them. to do the work to smooth things out, make things really nice in the future. Got to be able to picture it. By doing this, I'll be able to get clones, more clones from this American persimmons tree. Go right up over this rock I didn't want to go over, but that's life. Do I have a bungee cord here? No, but I bet I can tie this with this rag. This apple here is right in the way. It's a temporary fix anyways. Want to bang up against the trees as little as possible. Alright. Okay, sneak up in here a little bit more. Pear tree. I think this is a Bartlett here. I can't remember right now. Just grabbing from the base of the swale so it stays pretty much even. Next year I'll come through and work on the whole swale from the other side. Do get beautiful soil that builds up in these swales, though, I'll tell you. And lots of weeds. I'm knocking off more persimmons now. But I gotta say, this persimmon tree is a real hardy tree. It's beautiful. Drop my boom and my stick down, so I'm trying to get underneath this branch. Oh, I snapped one, I see now. Try to get down lower. Try to get on the other side of this persimmons. Transformations like this, no matter what, you're doing some damage, so you got to weigh the pluses and the minuses. Say, am I going to live with what I already created, or am I going to modify it, take the damages that come along with it, and potentially create a much more easily manageable site. So I can move ahead a little bit more. I don't have my good tilting bucket on right now. I want the transition from this mound here relatively smooth and easy, so I can set a ladder on this to do harvesting. Now, my boom, believe it or not, is right up there in the persimmon. You know, there goes the persimmons right in the bucket. So I got to keep moving ahead, lower the boom, then I can get closer to the tree with doing less damage. As you can see, I'm dropping a whole bunch of these persimmons. Next year, it depends on how much wood chips we get delivered. I'd really like to wood chip this whole area. And I'll use the Hulk, the track loader, to come in here and smooth things out much further. I'm just roughing it out right now with the excavator. Again, gotta move ahead some more so I don't damage more of that persimmons tree. After removing that tree, we'll want to fill in the void. Bring the beautiful soil from the swale, from the depths of the swale, right up in here. I just keep bumping this tree and knocking off more of those persimmons. Hank used to love coming up here and eating the persimmons every day. This time of year, he'd be up here every day, gobbling down all those persimmons. Remind myself that I've got the hydrant behind me there, so I have to really pay close attention on where I'm positioning myself now. And again, I'm just roughing this out. We'll smooth this all out and get the rocks up next spring. I got a lot more stuff to get ready for winter here. So that's pretty good. So that's where we got the honey locust out of. I already got other trees out of all this whole area. Didn't damage any of these apples at all, hardly. So I'm pretty happy with that. Making quite a mess here with the soil, but that's the way things work out. And so if this part is being used, just thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. Next year we'll continue to work in this area and make this much more pleasant of an environment to work with, and much easier to repair damages as they occur. Again, thanks so much for watching. Stay safe and take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye now.